Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Dhruv Gupta is going to talk about the Informed Voter Project and how raising awareness among citizenry is so important for us to create this movement. Thank you so much for being here, and take it away.
Okay, just checking that everybody can hear me. Okay, great. So yeah, hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Dr. Rao. Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here with all of you. Yeah. So before I begin, please know that I stutter or stammer, so I will repeat sounds while I'm speaking and also get stuck on some sounds. Don't worry, I'm completely fine. And if you need some clarification, please just send a message in the chat or to the host, I think, since I think chat's sort of disabled for participants. And yeah, I'll take questions at the end of the talk. Yeah, so Dr. Sailesh Rao asked me to give this talk related to my voluntary work in the context of the general election in India that took place earlier this year. I'll share some findings and also shed light on the process of ordinary people working together to build a healthy democracy. Yeah, so but first, just a quick introduction about myself. I live in Mumbai. I work on climate and social action in Mumbai, and also with some NGOs in villages nearby the city. I've been vegan since 2016. Whole foods plant-based since 2020. And since last year, I began as well learning how to forage in the forest. So yeah, that's my new sort of food, I guess, interest. Yeah. So the work I'm gonna be talking about today is with the Informed Voter Project, which is basically a nonprofit civil society organization that began in 2019 by an Ashoka fellow named Vivek Gilani. So one of our key activities is to hold elected representatives accountable to the promises they make, while they're campaigning. So before the election in India this year, we attempted to conduct a promise versus performance assessment of the government for the past 5 years, since the general election in India happens every 5 years. So yeah, so I will share my screen, and I'm going to actually just share some Instagram posts that we had made that kind of convey the work in a simple fashion, I believe. So yes, let me just share my screen. Second. Okay. Okay, I think you can see my screen. Can someone just give me a thumbs up if you
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'll just open this post. Yes. Yeah, so like I was saying, basically we analyzed the performance against promises made in the government's election manifesto in 2019. We looked at about 100 promises in 7 key categories. And yeah, these are the results that you can see here, sort of of all of those promises. And I'll share a bit more as well. So yeah, so as there's so much controversy about which news source to trust. We primarily use the government's own data. So yeah, so this is a kind of the data that we used in order of priority. The Lok Sabha, which you can see is number one, is like the House of Representatives in the U.S., and the Rajya Sabha right next to it, where it says Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, is like the Senate in the U.S. So it's just like, yeah, our two sort of, parliamentary bodies. Yeah, so basically the government's own data primarily. So it's sort of like not, yeah, it's hard to say that it's yeah, well, fake news sort of, so to speak. I'm not going to go into all the findings because yeah, you can visit the website, visit our social media channels and learn more. But I thought I'll just touch on the well, actually, I mean, since like this is a food and environment related forum, I thought I might just like touch on our agriculture and environmental findings, which I believe are the next two. So yeah, this is basically the some of, well, yeah, our findings for the agriculture and farmers welfare promises. I'll just read this here just briefly. So yeah, we found a series of non-starter schemes, much lower investments towards improving farm productivity than promised, and inadequate coverage by some welfare schemes such as this one, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, and environmental promise as well. So renewable energy capacity and solar reliance promises were kept, whereas waste management, groundwater recharge, clean air, and forest protection promises were broken. Yeah, so that's just sort of a, I guess, example of some of the findings that we found based on the research. Now, I kind of like don't sort of want this talk to kind of turn into a political debate. So I do want to share like I do want to share a bit about the process we went through, and also the courage and the resolve of ordinary people, ordinary citizens, to evaluate the performance of their government, to in some ways, you can say, hold their government accountable or shine some light on, what is the government doing? How are they performing? So yeah, so a bit about that process. I co-led a fully voluntary team, about 11 people, to kind of do this promise versus performance research. As many people were also working full time. We had, late night calls. We built very elaborate spreadsheets to track our work. This is an example of one of those spreadsheets. And we sort of, yeah, so basically so if you can see somewhat, yeah, but yeah, so basically just a lot of like meticulous work and, things that we tracked. We also built this website, informedvoterproject.org, somewhat in May, actually. We like found that like this work is really, really compelling. So we kind of like created this new website to sort of help people track these promises. And in fact, this website is actually inspired by a US-based website called politifact.com. So for example, like here you see the government's promise tracker, and you have these bars like promises kept, halfway, promises broken. And this is a PolitiFact's website, which is also a very nice website, so as you can see here, it's the same sort of structure. And you can, so compromise broken with these bars. And you can scroll down and kind of click on a promise and sort of see more information and sources and stuff. And yeah, we kind of like build the same sort of infrastructure or like web-based infrastructure where you can click on a promise and then read more about the conclusion, the evaluation, and also see the sources. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Yeah, so I mean, just sort of I guess a clarification, like we've kind of like not built out the web infrastructure for each individual promise in every category yet, but you can review the performance against each promise in these three reports that are on the homepage as well. So right here, we're under reports, and then we have the reports and the raw data, etc. And yeah, more articles. Yeah. So well. So as an aside, if anybody needs a website, you're like feel free to contact me. I kind of like offer that work, making websites and kind of like giving advice for strategy and marketing for free, for social movements and people who work in them. So yeah, it's not a sales pitch. It's just an offer to help people. Yeah, required. So yes, we've gone through that. So I just wanted to now just, yeah. So this kind of like is in some ways like an open invitation. So basically, I just thought I share that work, and like that, Dr. Rao sort of invited me here as well to like, yeah, I think as we can see, like, you know, it's not sort of like directly vegan related or specifically food related. It's more sort of broad about policies and progressive policies and stuff. So I kind of thought like this forum can be a space, if we'd like, to explore these questions, where we can share our views. So a few questions that you know, open questions to the floor, which is just that, like, so what does it mean to be a vigilant vigilant citizen? How can we all get involved? And is there something stopping us, internally or externally? At times there's fear of reprisal if you're in certain places. So yeah, so these are open questions to everyone here. Yeah, I am open as well to like answer any questions and kind of go into more detail if you like about Informed Voter Project, a specific you know, categories of promises or anything else. Yeah, so I'll stop there. We have like quite a bit of time, I understand. So yeah, we can you know, yeah, yeah, the floor is kind of open then to those open questions or more questions about Informed Voter Project.
Thank you, Dhruv. Tell me, how did you get involved in this? What was the motivation for you to start something like this?
Yeah, so I mean, just to clarify, like I like didn't kind of start the Informed Voter Project. It began in 2009, and I joined the team. And by the way, as well, it's a fully voluntary team. It like kind of like comes together sort of like before elections, you know, to kind of like do this sort of evaluation work. So yeah, 2013, 14 or so. I like, so at that time, I'd actually kind of like just moved back to India. Um, I just sort of like felt like well, I like wanted to contribute to the country in some way and sort of understand more about what was happening. Yeah, and kind of see how I can help. Yeah, so I kind of just like met someone at a co-working space that I was working at in 2014 or so, and then he connected me to somebody else who's working on yeah, this. So it just sort of happened organically, but my motivation was just to give back and learn more. Yeah.
Now, I was struck by what you were doing, because if we did that for the UN and all the environmental promises that nations have made, okay, they'll get a zero. I mean, but no one is holding them accountable at the moment. And I thought it was so important for us to hold leaders accountable for what their promises that they're making and that they just fail to keep. And so Are you saying that you would be open to creating a website like that for UN
Sure,
promises?
absolutely. So like there's in fact I I think a site already called ClimateActionTracker.org,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It's sort of kind of like looks at the Paris Agreement commitments and
Hmm.
perhaps even later commitments as well, COP21, COP22, for 4 different countries. And then you can kind of like click on each country's performance and see like where they are, what their commitments
Right.
and the pathway to sort of 1.5 or 2. I think it's called Climate Action Tracker, but I can check. But yeah, so basically if it doesn't exist, I'm ha ha happy to kind of help work on that project.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
see, not just climate, you see, because climate is like the solar promises that were kept by the BJP. Renewable energy promises were kept, right? Because you can actually grow the economy by doing that. So because economic growth is the main thing that they're focusing on. All the rest, it's just window dressing, right? So, but holding them to account for that, that's the thing. Because they make promises in the biodiversity conventions, and none of them have been kept. No one is tracking it. So it's as if, it just doesn't happen. The wild animals are dying off and no one really seems to care. And so this is why I see that we as citizens need to hold them accountable for what they
Absolutely.
are promising and pretending to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't know if there is a tracker like that, because climate action tracker, I don't follow that much because the climate system has been rigged already. The way you measure things has been rigged. And so they are just trying to do things within the context of how they measure it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hariharan?
Hey, Dhruv, thanks very much. I enjoyed I enjoyed your presentation. Um, I'm a very big fan of data and statistics, and I was thinking in my mind something like this, which really tracks the tracks the data tracks tracks the data. My objective and goal is to deliver this to at a per person level, right? If I can say open an app and then look at what this means to me as an individual person, what this means to me. This is my per capita income. This is where I live. And this is where, okay, well, what has the government done to me? Like from where I live, like can a data model can be built like that so that everybody can track, right? Like if somebody lives in a particular zip code in this level, okay, my government has promised in their election manifesto this is the first year, and this is what I see. Second year, this is what I see. Third year, this is what I see. See, data can never lie, right? That's why I see politics. I'm not interested in the ideologies because I mean, ideology is important, but still, right? I believe all political parties wants to grab power. That's their job profile. So they say what they want to say. I mean, I don't care about that at that level. I care about what they actually do, what it actually translates to any single person, and can we do that? That's the question. The answer is with the amount of data we have, with all the modeling techniques that we have, the data that is put out, and so many social media tracker engines like Twitter and everything that is out there. This model can be built, but it requires a lot of effort, a lot of contribution from everybody. But once this can be achieved, right? This model can be even translated to many countries, like say for example, right? what's the service delivery of this particular county or particular municipality to me? And if I walk around, drive around, I see so many potholes, I can keep recording it, right? I can, okay, in this 1 kilometer stretch, I see 2 potholes and it's not fixed for 3 months. And like the way in Google Maps, the people give feedback about the traffic on the road. There is an object on the road, there is a cop on the road, and all that is happening. So that kind of data, real-time data feed from the people, and you build models to compare with what the government has promised and what it is delivering. So this would be the real tracker, right? People can, and you can score it. You can score. This government scored like probably 10 out. I mean, like 5 out. I mean, nobody's going to go 9, 8 or something. We can, I mean, even 4 out of 10 or whatever. We can assign weightage, score, all this are a possibility. And I would be interested in involving in such kind of project. I really think this will be very useful for the people in the future. As like India is a country of like, today it's like 350. I'm very conservative. Today it's 350 to 400 million people who are in middle class, educated, have access to smartphone in their hand. I know I'm very, very conservative, but the good news is in the next 10 years, by 2035, this population would be 800 to 850 million educated people who know what this is. And they are that, see, the reason is this all takes a lot of time to build out, and a lot of mind power and all that is needed. And this is easily scalable to any country. See, the human aspirations are same across the world for anybody. So can this be translated into another totally new country with a different government system, like a communist or socialist or whatnot? Can this be translated? Yes, it can be translated, as human aspirations are same. And I mean, that's a very long shot. I'm just saying this is a need every citizen of the world needs. And especially when government is a big part of our daily existence, when they take 40% of our income in various forms of taxes, then tracking the government, because in the social media world, there is no way to track. Everybody is lying everywhere. There is no way to track. Like a real tracking system with 100% data purity, if it can be achieved, will help everybody. So yeah, I would be in touch. I don't know how to get your name, but I will be in touch with you. I don't know if my question is, are you thinking in those lines? I mean, I don't know if I
Thank
made
you for
myself
that. Yeah.
clear. My question is, are you thinking in those lines? Thank you. Sorry, it is a long lecture.
No problem.
No, it's all good. Yeah, for sure. I think we are thinking about, well, so basically, yes, I think that, tracking, so like, yeah, so tracking the performance of your government and also elected representatives is translatable across countries. Like I kind of like shared the example as well of PolitiFact.com, which is kind of like a similar. I mean, we based our based our website like, yeah, like on their site as well. So for sure, it is translatable. I think there are some barriers though, like in some countries, like you were saying, potentially, regimes that are more sort of controlling and yeah. So there kind of like could be fear as well in people's minds to kind of do this work and expose themselves to possible retaliation. So anyway, but yes.
So achieving this
Not
for
sure.
India like account for 20% of the world's population. So even achieving this for India is a
Yeah,
huge
absolutely.
deal. And yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, I'm just saying, world is like long shot, so like a moon shot. But even see, this is like a signals network. Like this in network engineering, the in computer science, the signals that are put out by it can come from, I mean, you can build applications, but I'm just saying, even at the operating system level, signals are a main part of main part of building any apps for the operating system. So like that, like that, a government can be an operating system, and you can build signals around it so that the
Absolutely.
signals can be tracked, verified, monitored, and without see, this is like nobody can hack it, built in a way nobody can hack it. It really reflects what is happening on the ground. Like if in this particular county, like I see 100 potholes during my winter season, in another county, the same government, there is only 70, compared, everything remains same, then really tells what's the services delivery. See, what India lacks, in my view, is the services delivery of the government to the people. Abysmally very poor, right? I mean, that's my opinion. Probably you can contradict me. So that when people, there is a huge promise of India becoming this and that, but on the ground, without this changing, right? Without there, I mean, there is no, in my mind, I would be very critical. There is no hope that the service delivery to the people should improve. Even the government doesn't have any way of knowing this. I believe the government depends on the bureaucrats to give them the data, and they are going to cook up the data they want. So an external system built around these principles would help anybody, even the government, even the people. Yeah, leave the people. I mean, even the government officials and the government leadership. Thank
Basically,
you.
you're asking about feedback and making sure that the feedback is with data as opposed to opinions. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Building a feedback system
right,
with utmost honesty to records,
right.
because if that is hacked, then that's it. That's the problem. We build system and gets hacked. Like we thought social media, like Twitter and Facebook and all the things will be a good feedback system, but that's again hacked. People hack those
Right.
things, and because they build algorithms to hack it. So it, the challenge is to build a system without which is ubiquitous and not like
It's a
doesn't have
not-for-profit. It has to be an
bias.
open source,
It's very
service.
tough.
Yeah,
It's very tough. So the DN, when designing those platforms, the design thinking should be like that. I mean, you don't need to start writing code or anything, but just thinking what should be the philosophy around this. Why are we even
right.
building? What's the
Sure.
philosophy? Why should we do
Dhruv
it?
can
So
respond, please.
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. Just to just to kind of share also yeah. So I mean that's also why like we like relied on the government's own data primarily to kind of like yeah to evaluate the performance because if we kind of like use some news articles or something, like they could say they're biased and stuff like that. So it's yeah, so that was the first thing. And secondly, also like I kind of like I mentioned on the homepage, like the data is fully transparent with links to the reports, you know, par par parliamentary reports and everything. So yeah, so keeping it open source also I think is critical, like we were saying.
Right.
Um, just want to say as well, if you are based in India, you're kind of welcome to volunteer as well if you'd like at the Informed Voter Project. Just feel free to reach out to me. My email address is in the chat box. Yeah.
Thank you, Dhruv. Abraham? And thank you, Hariharan, for that. You're yet to, okay.
I have a question about special reports which are being given each year to the governments about climate, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And I wonder how far that can be checked from the data, because these have been written by outstanding scientists, and you could check probably what they have written themselves in articles, but then what comes out in the reports is maybe very different from what the original were finding, because the governments are very controlling. They don't want to have certain information out. So I wonder if you can help in seeing what is accurate and what is not accurate, or how well it is done, because it depends. The policy of all the governments is dominated by these reports, but the outcome might be not very good.
Right. There is a lot of censoring that goes on in the IPCC reports and all in the compiled reports, because it's basically it's an intergovernmental panel on climate change, or intergovernmental panel on biodiversity loss. So the governments are saying, no, 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 don't say that, don't say that. So every government has a veto power for what gets into the report. So scientists have been complaining, that their work has been distorted. So it's helping to unravel that and show that. This is what Abraham is talking about.
Yes, absolutely. We had found as well, I mean, like I was saying, so like lots of our sort of analysis is based on the government's own data. And of course, the government's own data is going to be could be biased as well towards the government's,
Right.
performance. So I mean, looking at sort of like third-party reports as well that are credible. So like from say international organizations, like so like some of the labor information that we were or labor data that we analyzed was actually from the International Labor Organization and stuff like that. So third party credible as far as possible, like a compilation or collection of people, researchers and stuff from other countries also that are also doing the same work and academic work as well. But yeah, it's difficult definitely to know what could be biased and skewed towards a certain point of view. So
it would be very good to publish, if you get results, to publish them, let's say in the New York Times, to see how honest or dishonest the system is.
yeah.
Yeah. But Dhruv, on that note, related to this discussion, is it possible to create a generative AI engine that would sift through the data and assess what it thinks are the facts?
I'm not sure, but we can think about it and experiment.
Because that will replace, having manually to go through these things manually for yourself, and then relying on one source as the reliable source, and let AI figure out what it thinks is really going on.
Yeah. And at the same time as well, like could AI itself be biased based on who coded it?
Based on who coded it. Yeah. But it's so that's where the honesty and the openness has to come in. It has been open source code.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you write for that.
Because the other in science, they want to be honest. And they are generally pretty good at it in articles. But in these reports, it's maybe a different issue.
Right. So when it comes to every individual, I tend to make the assumption that any individual who's trying to do academic research, they're trying to be honest in their own little field, but they narrow down their questions, so they don't get into the political side of it, right? So they narrow down their questions. So you get the sin of omission, as opposed to commission. They're not deliberately trying to lie. They're just looking at something narrowly. Right. So this is how, for instance, the protein myth is propagated, because you keep saying meat has protein, which is true. We just forgot to tell people that plants also have protein.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how the myth was created, right? So it's a sin of omission in science textbooks and everywhere.
If we can make it more clear,
right?
That would be very helpful, I think. People can see it.
Right. I mean, especially when there are spreadsheets and databases with all the amino acid content of every food, and you can see immediately that there's protein in everything, and that in fact all amino acids are in everything. Right? That data is there, except people don't. Then it's not given to them. In the same way, there is a lot of data in the climate science literature. If you look at it and piece it together, you will immediately see that animal agriculture is the leading cause, but no one is telling you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as a systems engineer, I try to do the work of an AI engine, right? Trying to figure out where the real truth is. And I based it on this kind of assumption that everyone is trying to be honest, but they're honest in their own limited sense,
Right.
So it's the job of a systems person to put it together. So similar to the job of an AI to put it together.
Mm.
Yeah. Wonderful work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any AI experts within your volunteer team?
I'm not sure, but yeah, I can check. I can ask around and see if that's possible. I've like taken a note of that.
Yeah,
So
wonderful. Good.
yeah.
Dakota?
Hi, yes, I was just thinking I can't seem to get into the chat. It's disabled on my phone. But anyway, when you're talking about the protein myth, it just made me think about another piece of the sin of omission, in my opinion, is that we even need to worry about protein. It's in every food source. And so it's just not even something we need to worry about, but everybody's worried about it now because of the, misleading kind of things. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole business of looking for alternate proteins and to me, the whole discourse around alternate protein is such a distraction from what is really going on. Deepak?
You're on. Okay.
Yeah, you're on. Oh,
You're on mute still.
Yeah, sorry for the video. It's not, the lighting is not great, but same thing. I think I was thinking about how climate scientists don't take in the land use that goes into animal agriculture is kind of the same. Yeah, so as you said, they just stay in the little world instead of taking the full systems approach. Yeah, and I think AI can definitely help put that together. So I'm definitely excited. Yes, AI will replace many of the menial jobs, but it will also give us the freedom, as we were discussing yesterday about um, give us the freedom. Basically, we won't have to think about that. So I just want to say, and for me as well, I think chat is disabled, so we can text or whatever. And thank you, Dhruv, for the work you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
thank you, Deepak. Lisa? Lisa Burke?
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So this is so exciting and interesting. Thank you for this work. I'm going to take advantage of having a couple people who understand AI better than I do. Is it possible that when people are programming AI that the concept of compassion can actually be programmed in as a bias?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I just was wondering, because if it's sort of like when you understand that, scientists, for instance, are inadvertently omitting certain information into their reports, and they don't want to see themselves as being dishonest or bad people, but still, there's a bias away from people waking up, really. So right. I just wondered if, there should be trainings for people that are writing the programs for AI, so that it leans, if there's ever a question, into compassion being there. But the other thing is, do you have competitors? Because what you're talking about, I was thinking about like Wikipedia, which I used to depend on, but then I realized that Wikipedia has a bias, oftentimes. They call people conspiracy theorists and things like that in the first sentence of their bios and things like that. I find very disappointing. But I'm wondering, like, is it possible that something like this would be sort of something that is an accolade for people, I mean, for organizations, so that it got big enough and had enough of a credibility and a good reputation that it would be almost like a badge of honor, that your organization or your database actually gives them a sort of a good grade or something like that.
Yeah. You're like kind of saying, wait, sorry. So would you like my mind just kind of like rephrasing your question or
Yeah,
asking me
well, so is your site going to expand to the point where people actually refer to it? Like if it was published in a journal, or it had that kind, it was an actual accolade for people to be referred to, or to get sanctioned by your by your work.
Sure. So yeah, so I mean, like we like during the election season as well, like we actually kind of like held press conferences, like 3 press conferences, I believe. So yeah, so like we like so essentially like quite a few newspapers sort of covered like our work as well. Yeah, and kind of referred back to it. So in some ways also we kind of got that credibility. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. I think sort of a combination, and like if the government also kind of like recognize it as well, and then and like we were saying, kind of use it as a feedback loop, that would be like would be amazing. That like future politicians and parties would kind of look at the performance of the current party and say, okay, so they did this and we can do this better. That's our our goal, in fact, as well.
Okay, so, yeah. That's what. Yeah, I was wondering that, because it could be like the gold standard or something of legitimacy, and rather than each person needing to hear about it and then go to the site, like myself, I'll use your site for sure, but it's because I'm constantly trying to figure out what to believe and what not to believe. But yeah, if it's ClimateAction Project, right? Is that what it's called?
Informed
right.
Voter Project, Informed Voter Project.
Yeah. Okay. I've got that too. I just read something that I put down earlier. Well, thank you so much. It's fascinating. I could talk about this for a long time. I just think it's so fascinating and very, very courageous. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sai Praneeth.
You're on mute still.
Okay. Firstly, before I ask question, to answer Lisa's question, first of all, I'm no AI expert, but we use ChatGPT for our internal projects. So I worked with a ChatGPT expert, and what she did was, so for example, if you say ChatGPT like behave like Dr. Sailesh Rao and give a description of Dr. Sailesh Rao's work and all, so ChatGPT and ask questions to it, so it will start answering like Dr. Sailesh Rao, right? And you could also say, give a description of Dr. Dhruv, and then, ask some questions related to that. So In fact, she has her own dentist or orthopedic, different types of doctors within ChatGPT. So she's given a detailed profile of the person she wants to interact with, and she asks the questions to ChatGPT. So I'm not saying this is a perfect solution, but it's a hack which is there in ChatGPT. So it's worth trying. It's not so hard. You can go to Climate Healers and copy the introduction of Dr. Sailesh and try to ask some questions to ChatGPT and see if it answers like Dr. Sailesh. And to my question, and I would like to Dr. Sailesh Rao to address a cow in the room. The question I had about the Vegan World 2026 from data, since we've been talking about data.
Right.
A couple of years back, you mentioned about the hockey stick. Right. In the past, we had so many hockey sticks where change comes suddenly, internet being one of them.
Right. Right.
But what is the current trajectory of
Right.
veganism like? Because COVID has happened, but I don't see any change in any measurable change, any meaningful change in terms of data in the
Right.
vegan transition. So,
Well, yeah, it's
and also to have more, can we extend the deadlines for 2026? Seems unrealistic, honestly. Can we? I mean, everyone would love to have the deadline, but I mean, see a vegan world by the deadline. Is it
yeah.
realistically possible in 2 years?
The signals from nature are just as I expected. It's probably getting stronger. So it's saying 2026 is your time. Okay. So, and it's up to us whether we have the capacity to listen to the signals from nature and respond accurately. Right. And that's where we are. What we are seeing is, I was originally thinking that the number of vegans who say they're vegan would go up exponentially like that. But what seems to be happening is that there are a lot of people putting their foot in, taking it out, putting their foot in, taking it out. So there's a lot of experimentation, and the zeitgeist has become that everyone knows that eating plants is good for you, good for the planet, good for the animals. And that awareness has grown. Okay. So it's no longer a mystery to people that going vegan is good for you, good for the planet, and good for the animals. And so in that sense, I'm sort of waiting to see. This is why the meat industry is so scared of the movement. Not because the vegan movement, number of vegans is growing exponentially. No, it's because lots of people are trying. And you're seeing it in the way in which plant-based milk is being consumed. It's not by vegans. I mean, a lot of people are consuming plant-based milk, even though they're not vegan, because they know. They know it has to happen, right? And they're wondering when will my neighbor do it? When will my neighbor proclaim as a vegan, right? This is why I focus on making vegan normal and acting as if a vegan world is already happening. It's a foregone conclusion that the world is going to be vegan in my mind. Okay. So when we make that kind of positioning of the movement, it'll become a reality faster. Okay? It'll help those who are in the closet, who are putting their foot in the movement and getting it out. Those who are, trying it out and waiting for their neighbors to come, because this is where system justification comes into play. Right? People know that they're being abused by the system, but they're saying, well, this is the only thing I know, so I'll just stick with it. Okay. So it's creating these other alternatives. And that's where our work as engineers has to, we have to sort of tell people, okay, how would you do this in a vegan world? How would you live in a vegan world? If we as a species don't get our act together, everything is going to die around us, and then we are going to die too. So I'm saying, we have to get our act together, but we have to get our act together and be confident that that's the future. If we keep saying, I don't know if it's going to happen, I don't know if it's going to happen, where is the data, and challenging people that this is not going to happen, we are going to be working for the meat industry, the meat and dairy industry. And I said, don't do that. Don't work for them. Stay on our side and have that confidence that this is going to happen. And that has its own amplification. That has its own feedback signal that comes back, right?
The conference is lost. I feel personally that after COVID, people seem to have not learned their lesson.
Yeah.
That's
COVID,
where I lost the confidence on.
Right. COVID was probably even, engineered, engineered for getting lots of people to take all kinds of things that they don't want to do. It'd be very hard for you to get people to take mRNA vaccines and otherwise, right? So the system is desperately trying to cling to its existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
what's your prediction? Like 2026, 2 years is a short timeline. Like, do you
doesn't
think
matter.
it's really possible
Doesn't matter.
to see a vegan world by 2026?
See, when I tell the story of my promise to my granddaughter, right? And that happened because she realized that we're on track to kill almost all the wild animals by 2026. That's where the number came from, 2026.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly, unintelligent of a species to go and kill all its neighbors and then say, oh, wow, how can I live like this? It's incredibly unintelligent of that species to do that. So we have to wake up by 2026 for sure. But my granddaughter also came to me after she talked to her parents after I made the promise to her. And she talked to her parents, and her parents basically told her, what did you make your grandpa promise you? You know how hard it is? So she came to me the next day and she said, Grandpa, I hear that you have a tough job. Okay? And I said, yeah, I have a tough job. She said, you don't have to do it by the time I'm 16. You can do it by the time I'm 17. Yeah. She thought that was a big concession she was making. She was only 5 at that time. So she's given me time till 2027, but I still think that we need to get it done by 2026. Okay? And create this whole system around it. And there are people working on it, right? So I'm not an expert on sociocracy. I'm not an expert on other ways of doing things, but there are people working on it. So have faith. So that's all because we tend to look for confirmation for whatever our bias is. So we are all biased. So in that sense, we are all in the same boat. We have 4 minutes and there are 3 people with questions now. But thank you for initiating this major discussion.
Yeah.
Nancy?
Hi, thank you. Fascinating discussion. I don't know if I wanted to mention that I studied this like DNA in school, and before DNA was discovered to be what it was, people thought that protein was it's like the staff of life, and because they saw that there are so many proteins in our bodies, like the 20 pairs that we know of, that make over 10,000 proteins through our bodies and so much function. So they thought protein. So that's probably where the protein myth started, and it's like we get humanity on these locomotives going, 1,000 miles an hour, and then we can't get off. And so we end up with all these outdated theories. And the other theory that I have is we know that something like 70 to 80% of all pharmaceuticals are for farmed animals and fish. And I think that the one industry that would probably never recover would be the pharmaceutical industry. And we also know they have massive government lobbies. So that's a conclusion that, I've come to, that it really has to do with that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Erica? Erica, and are you able to unmute? Okay, there you are.
Sorry.
Oh, it's Julian.
Yeah, my mother's out doing some prayers. She just stepped away a little bit. Yeah, so it's a very good thing I want to address. I think Lisa's question about this AI, because this AI could be done without speciesism, sexism, or racism, because it doesn't. If you just have it has a beating heart, and if you can monitor the heart of the animal in the nature somehow with the little chip, obviously everyone will be taken care of. If it's veterinarians could be sent, or we don't need to have voting anymore. This is crazy. Why are they voting for people who are not even, like Musk said, he wasn't want anybody on Mars even who's not a vegan. A thoughtful vegan is what we need. All the people in this room that are thoughtful vegans, we should be leaders of the world. We don't need to have this voting system anymore, right? So that idea I was gonna say about yeah, what about this so AI could be made right, so that it could be so the voting system it doesn't need to exist. It's actually and ChatGPT, as somebody said, I think Mr. Shah was saying that we're still using, it is confirmed that almost 50 to 70% of the world would agree if we could come up with a better system for currencies, which is a very environmental credits for people who get paid to stay where they belong. If they don't go out and travel around so much, or if they do travel, stay in a country for a good amount of time and do environmental activities, then actually you wouldn't need to have any kind of a currency, because all the schools have been teaching the wrong things. How to exploit, disturb, and disrupt natural ecosystems and natural things. And the best ecosystem is just to grow a crop and dig a home in the ground so you don't need air conditioning or heating. It's as simple, all of that. So thank you for what you're saying here. And I appreciate both of you, Dr. Rao and Mr. Dhruv. Yeah, thanks again. And yeah, I'll
thank you. Thank you, Julian.
Later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deepak, can we please make it quick? So then we have Charities. Charity is going to show us about art and how art can help us with this. Oh, did you mute again? Sorry for the security measures. Yeah.
I wasn't able to switch on my video. Anyways, so as we were talking about AI, I actually tried to see if ChatGPT is a speech, if it has speciesism, and when I asked for like, can you give me some recipes for dog? It's no, it's against my ethical policies or whatever. Okay. There's actually a vegan AI. I don't know if everyone knows about it. It's called Veg3, veg3.ai.
Can you, what is the name again?
Veg, like VEG 3.
Okay.
.ai.
Veg3.ai.
Yeah. And also, like, I had a quick question about like carbon credits, since we are talking about data and stuff. So, like, is it a total scam, or like, is there any way for it to be legit? Because once the emissions are in the atmosphere, as we know, it's going to stay there for centuries.
Yeah, there is a social cost of carbon estimate that even governments have come up with these estimates, and they range anywhere from $60 to $200 or $300 per ton of CO2. It's a lot, and that's the social cost of carbon. So I say if you use that metric, then it's probably going to be fine, because it will force you to reduce carbon emissions. Yeah.
And I know we are over time, so I'm going to ask you this quickly about the 2026. Is it like all of the wild animals will be extinct, or just the ones on land?
No, it's a combination of, basically a statistical survey done on representative species. Some on land, some in fresh water, some in the air, some in salt water. So it's a combination of all species. And if you look at the individual breakdowns. I mean, some are going faster than the others. So it's a mess. I'm saying, you know, why are we even looking at, oh, gee, how much time do I have? So do it now, right?
Yeah.
It's like saying, you know, how long will Hitler take to kill all the Jews? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So how much time do I have to stop this guy? No, you do it, try to do it now as quickly as possible. So anyway, that's my, I think we should be shocked that they're going down that fast and taking action, drastic and frantic action.
It's exponential, as you say, I guess.
Right, it is. So Charity will be on next. So thank you so much, Dhruv, for this and for initiating this wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's been great to be here.
Yeah.